My conversation today on Inside the Wounds is with Cory Arford. He's the guitarist of Carnifex, he's a songwriter, and a Twitch streamer. Today we're talking about the importance of collaboration with your band and the dedication and professionalism that goes into Carnifex. I'm Joaquin Rodriguez. This is Inside the Wounds with Cory Arford. How the hell are you doing, bro?
I'm good. I had a little alarm thing, so I'm just waking up. So that's cool.
Well, hey, you made it, man, and I appreciate you.
I brushed my teeth. I made coffee. I'm here. I'm present. I'm ready to talk about stuff.
Hell yeah, you're enough of a human to get through this, right?
Yeah.
Wait, let's get this started right with a fun question here.
Yeah, baby.
Who's your favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Scorpion, always.
Hell yeah, dude.
I
Yeah.
have second favorites and stuff, but I mean, not even just because of ease of play, but he's always just been the coolest character. And I'm more into like Japanese, Chinese, like Kung Fu and martial arts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that there was a fighting game that came out in the 90s with a yellow ninja in it. I mean, blue's my favorite color, but I'm not really into ice as a weapon.
Mm.
So I like fire and spears and skulls and shit. So
Hell yeah.
he was like the metal dude, and I was, yeah, this guy's cool. And he's a ninja. Shit.
Hell yeah.
And also he's really easy to use all the time. So
Yeah, dude.
he's my dude.
Hell yeah. I love Scorpion. I would say he is my number one, but it's a close between him and Noob Saibot for me.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on what game for me. MK11, Noob was shit.
Yeah.
He was the best. He was my favorite character. Like, he had the longest combo string that was really easy for me to do. And then that fatality where he puts his hand in your stomach.
Yeah.
And then he goes in as the shadow and then fucking breaks you open out of your mouth. Like, what the fuck? That was like my favorite and hardest to watch fatality.
Hardest to watch.
Sounds gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
His hand comes out and it just rips you from the mouth down. It's like, whoa, bro, relax.
And in reality, in the studio, they're like tearing apart like a watermelon or something.
Lettuce. Yeah. It's a head of lettuce. Just
Yep. They're making a salad
That
to
shit.
make these fatality sounds. Hilarious.
so great. It's my favorite, watching people do that.
Yeah.
Just watching dudes hit like slabs of meat with baseball bats for punches.
Right.
It's the best.
Totally, man. Well, what's your favorite Mortal Kombat game?
I mean, I'd say it's a tie between 11 and Trilogy.
Dude. Mortal Kombat Trilogy, my favorite game of all time. For the PlayStation 1.
Not only was it MK3, it was like MK3 on steroids, but
Mm-hmm.
the best part about that was that the MK3, whatever on N64, or it wasn't on N64 or whatever, or like Ultimate, it didn't have what the PlayStation version had.
Mm-hmm.
But then Mortal Kombat Trilogy had everything the PlayStation version had. Plus, you could play as Goro and Motaro and Shao Kahn. And there was one other secret character in that I forget. It was in the bottom left corner.
Chameleon.
But yeah. So Trilogy had the whole roster from everybody that was ever available in either of the two Mortal Kombat 3 games. And then they put them in there. And then they released the same version for everybody. So I didn't have a PlayStation when that came out. So I only had the 64. And when they gave me that, But funny thing is, I had a book for MK3 Ultimate
Mm-hmm.
that had all the moves and everything, except, that was right. It was the old school Sub-Zero that was in Trilogy that 3 didn't have. So the book I had didn't have any moves for the human Sub-Zero or the old school ninja. And then Trilogy was when they put the brutalities in, and the book didn't have the brutalities for him. So I sat there like a Saturday night for like 3 hours and figured it out.
Hell yeah.
So I'd put the verses on with 2 players, and I would beat the other guy, and then I would start hitting buttons until like it'd be like one hit, and then I went through them like, okay, this button twice, that button, until it was 2 moves, and then I'd write them down until I found them all. So it was like hours spent hitting these buttons, and when you finally got it, it's like, okay, and you follow it like bam, 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 and then you get, maybe this is the last one, and when you finally hit it and it goes on, I was like, yes! I was like, I got it, I figured it out, I wrote it down, and I was like, I have it. I fucking have it. Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
That was cool. That was like my favorite thing.
Hell yeah. And with Trilogy, man, I feel like there was a lot of characters that I really enjoyed playing, like Scorpion, obviously, Human Smoke, Noob Saibot. Dude, Noob Saibot was OP in that game for sure.
Yep.
Then freaking loved playing as Rain. I think that game is what got me into Rain.
Rain was cool. He was super different because he looked like the other ninjas, but totally different moveset, totally unique. Like they did something totally different with him. I couldn't get into him because I sucked with him, but I remember being like, he's like the most unique dude because all the ninjas have similar moves, and you kind of like, Sub-Zero shit, Smoke stuff, all those moves, but then here comes the Rain with like an overhead water bubble and like the little like other water shit, and you're like, what is this guy?
Right.
And his stuff's so crazy.
I just feel like that.
Did you know about the trick to beat the game on any difficulty level with Human Smoke easily?
Remind me just in case if I don't know.
So you pick Human Smoke,
okay,
and you pick the longest tower you can and put it on very hard. No matter what level you're on or where you're at or who you're fighting, if you jump backwards and hit a kick in the air,
okay.
your opponent will throw a projectile, and then you can do the teleport punch. So you beat him that way. But Motaro doesn't fall for that. It was Robot Smoke. So you start with Robot Smoke. You do that back jump, do the teleport, uppercut, do the thing. When you get to Motaro, he doesn't fall for that shit, and you can't knock him in the air. So before the match starts, you hold back, high punch, high kick, and block, and he turns into Human Smoke. And then you use the other teleport on the last two dudes, Shao Kahn and Motaro, and you can beat the whole game on very hard doing that.
Nice.
Because that was like the computer thing, since back then it was all computer receptors, so you couldn't have like a total random AI. So they all react the same to whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So somebody figured that out. I don't remember how I found that, but I was like, huh? And so I did that in the arcade once, like in Vegas somewhere, and some kid was like, he's just like, what?
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, dude, check this out. I turned into Human Smoke, and he was like, oh my God. I beat the game, and he was like, dude. And I showed him how to do it, and I was like, have fun, bro. Yes.
Dude, that's dope. Let's dive into some Carnifex content. So yeah, I know 2024 is the 10-year anniversary of Die Without Hope. So take me back a decade. What was it like putting that album together?
It was weird. We were taking like a break because Scott was dealing with some lady stuff, and she was a real piece of work. And there was some other stuff like Victory Records issues and other things. So we were right before we started doing that. Well, not right before, but before. The last thing we did before that was we did a direct support tour with All Shall Perish, and then it was hey, we're gonna take a break. I don't know what's gonna happen, so everybody just go get jobs and chill out, and then we'll go from there. And then so I was working at a smoke shop and delivering pizza, and then one day at the smoke shop, I was just chilling there. There's no customers, and Sean texted me or called me, I can't remember, but was like, hey, we got some stuff written. I'm going to put it in the Dropbox, check it out. And then I checked it out, and I think it was Die Without Hope was like being written. So I heard some other stuff. I was like, who wrote this? And I was like, well, Sean was like, well, Scott and I were talking about he wants to start writing again and maybe see if we could pick stuff up. And we got this dude Jordan hanging out, and he did our End of the World shows because Ryan was dealing with his stuff. So like we had Jordan around, and we were talking to him, and I was like, we didn't have anybody, and he could do sweeps and solos and stuff. I was like, let's get Jordan in so he could, add another element to the band and be cool. So all that kind of happened, and then, yeah, we started writing and everything, but I was kind of notified after a few songs had been done, and I was like, I had to like quit this job and stuff. So like the writing, I came in writing a little bit later, but yeah, I think Jordan just had a lot of ideas, and Sean took a lot of it and arranged a lot of it with Scott, and then I got some stuff in there, and I mean, it was once it was like, hey, we're gonna write and do stuff. It was kind of like normal, like every other record. So we compiled the stuff. We got songs written. We learned them, and then we went to the studio. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It was just we were on a break, so it was kind of like excited that we were doing stuff, but
Right.
is this gonna be real stuff? What are we really gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden Scott was like, hey, I'm talking to Nuclear Blast, so that's cool. And then our first tour back before we did that album, we went to Europe with Amir, and we met with Marcus, who was the original owner of Nuclear Blast, which actually started in Germany, not here, or not in LA. And then he was like, yeah, I want to sign you to the US version of Nuclear Blast. I got this guy Gerardo running it. He's going to talk to you. And all that was great at first. So it was sick. Yeah, we got the music started, and then we went to LA and signed the contract and did the whole thing. So, I mean, other than that, it was a pretty normal album thing, but we usually don't sign record deals and write a record at the same time. So
Right. Gotcha. So I'm curious. So what was going through your mind when the hiatus was first announced?
shit, fuck, damn it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually still working delivering pizza at the time. Like, I told him, hey, I'm going to go on tour full time. Should I quit? And GM was like, no, I'll just keep you on the schedule. If you're here, you can work. If you're not here, whatever. Who cares? I was like, cool. Great. Cool. I always have a job. Sick. Eventually, we got to such full-time touring. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be home at all, dude. You don't need to. He's like, well, yeah, if you come in, if you don't, if I don't see you for a little bit, we'll take you off. No worries, whatever. So I just kind of stopped showing up, which was just fine. He was like, yeah, you don't need to quit. You can come in, you can not come in. And then we got like really full-time touring after that. So
Nice.
like I went in and was like, I was going to quit. Like, we're doing this. This is real now. So
Hell yeah.
not that it wasn't before, but it's really real now.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, like at some pizza shop out there in California, your name is still on the schedule to this day with a question mark next to it.
Fucking Round Table Pizza in Escondido on Washington and Ash.
Yeah, people are going to take a field trip there and still see your name on the schedule. That's hilarious.
You sick?
That's awesome.
I should call him up.
Hell yeah.
Like, hey, can I grab a shift while I'm home?
Right.
Or while I'm going to be in town for rehearsal for 3 days. Can I grab a shift?
Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit here. I was going to ask you too, like, what was that defining moment that pulled you all out of that hiatus? I know you mentioned Sean hitting you up, but was there something else that was like, oh shit, yeah, we're starting this. This is it.
Yeah, signing the record deal. That was it.
Fair enough.
And getting the tour with Amir, like, when Scott's like, hey, I'm putting a tour together, Amir wants us to go to Europe, and then I'm talking to Nuclear Blast, like, oh, okay, well, we're going to sign a record deal now. I mean, once you sign the deal, you have to write.
Yeah,
so it's like, so now we have to tour so we can make money and write. So, yeah, once he was like, yeah, I'm talking to Nuclear Blast, we're going to write this album. We got a couple songs, let's do this. Like, that was, I mean, pretty much when Scott and Sean hit us up and say we're doing stuff, then we're doing stuff.
Right. Well, cool, man. Yeah, and I got to say, like, Die Without Hope has a pretty special place in my heart because that was like the first album that I discovered you guys with. And a little bit of a story here. Man, I remember back in 2014, this was like during summer vacation going into my senior year of high school. And I remember just laying in bed at 4 a.m. on YouTube on my iPad. And I was subscribed to Nuclear Blast. And
Okay, yeah.
it had recommended Dark Days, the lyric video, Dark Days. And again, never heard of Carnifex at the time. I just hit play, then listened to the whole thing. I was like, shit, hell yeah. Then immediately afterwards, it recommended Die Without Hope. And boom, I was like, oh.
That's a good song.
Shit. Like, that, at that moment, I'm like, bro, this is the best fucking, like, deathcore, death metal song ever. And to this day, I think Die Without Hope is my favorite deathcore, death metal record ever. To this day.
Really? Oh, thank you. That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish I had written more on it, but it is a good album.
Dude,
It was a really good album.
dude, totally. And I mean, y'all have consistently been cranking out like releases since 2014. Where do you draw that motivation from to like just to keep that machine going?
I don't know, man. I mean, it was easy the first couple records because I had so much, but
Right.
I eventually you get tapped out. So then it's just like, I don't know, anything you can just, any moment you have, noodle around on a guitar, just do whatever comes to your mind. I think the best thing about it is like, I'm good at improv. Like I can, like if it's just me and a drummer, like I can't really improv with other guitar players because I don't know like chords and keys, and like if somebody starts playing something, you know what key this is in? I have no fucking idea. But like if you get a drummer and just, I could just start playing anything. Like that was how I wrote a lot of stuff for. I never actually had a band with him, but it's my buddy Chad, and he was a drummer, so he would just. He's like, I was like, hey, let's fucking jam, and I would come over, and I would just start playing shit. Like, oh, I got this. Like, just sit there and think about something and have a rhythm in my head, and then just start playing it, and then he would just join in, and then I would just switch riffs. Like, okay, I'm playing like a riff, and now I'll play a breakdown, and then he would just kind of try and follow me. So I cut my chops doing that. So like, anytime, like if we're headlining and we're doing sound checks and load in and stuff, I'll load in a setup, and I'll just stand there and noodle for like an hour and bother everybody. But like, fuck, I can't remember the name of the song, but we have a song on the new album that starts da 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 da. I basically wrote that using the same exact notes that Hell Shows Me is.
Okay.
I just played them different.
Mm-hmm.
So like that came about when I forget where we were, but I was just jamming and Scott was talking about writing Necromantium. And he's like, yeah, we need some more stuff like Hell Chose Me. And I was like, I was just thinking about that song and the opening, and I was like, what if I like this? And I just played it like da 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 da, and he was like, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. I just came up with it. Hell Chose Me, just played different. And he's like, remember that. So I kept playing it, and I developed it, and I got home and tracked it, and then sent it over, and now it's in a song.
Dude, hell yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. I didn't put two and two
That's
together.
how most shit comes up. Like I have no ideas anymore. I have to listen to other music, and like I do have a couple ideas right now that I need to work on, but they just come from me listening. Like I've been listening to a lot of Organectomy, and so it's just slam riffs and build up riffs and slam riffs, and they're fucking sick. But they've given me a bunch of ideas because I'm like, I hear things and I'm like, oh, I haven't written a riff like that in a long time. And that's the other thing too, is you have like all these ideas and different riff types and all this stuff, and you start compiling it when you're like a fan and you're learning to write and stuff. You're compiling all these things, and then in our case, by the second album, I've used all these ideas I've collected.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you listen through anything I've written, is like, oh, Cory wrote that riff and that riff, and they're all different, and they're all these different styles of riffs. So now I feel like I've used these ideas, and I want to use different ideas. So I hit a lot of walls because I'm trying not to write. I don't want to put myself in a box and be like, oh, this is. So when people hear a certain riff, oh, I bet Cory wrote that. I don't want that. I want people to be like, who wrote that riff? And then when I say I wrote it, the people go, oh, cool, man, that's cool. And then when they hear another cool riff on the same album, I go, who wrote that? And I go, I wrote that. And it's like, that's totally different.
Dude,
That's what I want. I don't want to be, stuck in that box of like, oh, well, he only writes breakdowns. Or only writes these kinds of riffs. I'll try to write, like I've written some tech death riffs, which I don't write tech death riffs because it's a lot of notes, and I don't know a lot of notes. Like those dudes are using like scale parts and all this other shit, and like they'll take a chord and then play it, and I'm just like, that's a lot of thinking and a lot of hardness, and I'm not a solo guy, and I'm not like a techie dude. I'm just a fucking meathead riffer, dude. Like I'm a new metal kid. I came up with Fear Factory and Korn. Like I'm about the riff,
right?
The bottom 4 strings. That's me,
Dude. I'm a new metal kid too. I mean, I was born in '97, so I mean, I was surrounded by Slipknot, Deftones. I mean, those Mudvayne. I mean, those are my top 3 bands ever to this day too. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's where my base came from in terms of just like appreciating music and guitar playing. So I can relate.
That's good.
I can relate.
That's good. You were born in like the back end of the golden age of nu metal. The Slipknot came out right after that. So by the time you were old enough to care, nu metal had kind of, but there's a whole backlog of amazing shit for you to pick up.
Yep.
Kind of like how I was barely old enough to be into the golden age of hip hop, but I was old enough to care about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I became old enough to hear it all after the golden age. So now I have this wonderful, huge backlog of music that some I haven't heard, and then other notes or other beats and riffs and other sounds I hear. I'm like, I remember this song when I was like 9, and I didn't know what the fuck it was about. But now I can hear it, and it's on Spotify, and like I can relive like where I lived in sort of Orange County, LA, for a little bit with my mom and stepdad. There was this hip hop station, and every night at 9:00, Monday through Friday, was the Fat Five at 9. I forgot the DJ's host name, but it was sick. And at that time, the biggest stars out were Tupac, Snoop, Dre, Biggie. Like, it was all those cats, dude.
Yeah.
And so the Fat Five at 9 was literally Gin and Juice, I Love It When You Call Me Big Papa. Like, dude, the hits, California Love, all those fucking golden age hits. So I would go to bed every night listening to the best hip hop songs ever written.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. And now it's kind of funny to see Snoop where he is, because when I was a kid and I heard of Snoop, he was still gangbanging and pimping, and the rap thing was just a way for him to talk about the shit and all the gang stuff and everything. But he was legit still doing all that shit. And now he's like doing cooking shows with Martha Stewart and like, what the fuck, Snoop? And he's like not smoking anymore, but he's like vaping or whatever. It's like, what happened to Snoop, dude? But I still love him because he's still in movies, and like, even it's funny because like deep down, even though Snoop's doing all this like family garbage, he's still Snoop,
Right.
he goes home and like with his boys, or when he's gaming with his boys, that like that old gangster head comes out, like it does. He's out there threatening people and shit, and I bet his boys are like, what the fuck are you threatening, dude? You ain't know nobody no more. You ain't no Crip no more, dude. Shut up.
That's funny.
They're like, why don't you walk over to the fridge and get me a fucking beer? You fucking I didn't say that. I'm assuming his boys say that. That's what I would say if I had a good friend that was a gangster and tries to pull that shit on me after doing cooking shows with Martha Stewart. That's exactly what I would say to him. Did you walk over to the fridge and grab me a White Claw there, Puppy Bear? And I would do that shit just because nobody else in the fucking world would ever say that shit to Snoop, just out of fear and respect. But his boys dog him all the time. They have to.
Right.
Like, I'm sure when he calls Dre, I'm sure Dre gives him some shit, even though Dre's on the family thing too. Like, I bet like some of his boys that are still a little bit like doing harder shit than him and not so family, like I bet they give him shit. They have to.
Right.
He was like the hardest gangster rapper on the fucking planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest stoner ever, and now everything's so pulled back. It's so funny.
Right. That's funny. Well, hey, you touched on this a couple of times about like hitting a wall, but also making sure like a lot of these riffs don't sound the same. You know what I mean? It's unique each time you approach it. So with that being said, like, are you a planner? Do you have routines for yourself to like stay on track, or just in the moment?
In the moment. So usually I'll, like if I feel like I want to write or something for the day or whatever, I'll put on a live stream with somebody gaming, and then I'll just pick up a guitar and like noodle around. And then that's usually like where a little something kind of spark will happen or whatever, and then I'll start noodling around and go from there. But yeah, it's usually if I have an idea, it just comes because I'm practicing or noodling or something.
Yeah.
Usually doing nothing. So I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how to like write. Like some people sit down and they're like they choose a key or they do a thing or I don't know, whatever. It's just usually I'll just like start playing one of our songs or I'll whatever, and then usually it's just my mind starts wandering and then I start fucking off and then boom, there's a riff.
Yeah.
So I mean it's not the greatest answer, but that's about all that happens really.
Well, I mean, what you just explained to me is just you not overthinking it. You know what I mean? When you're not overthinking it, you're just in the moment. Shit happens, which could be, you know, tip of the hat to yourself for doing it for so long and playing for so long. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I run into a lot of that myself, you know? So I don't think that's a bad answer at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and we're 10 albums and 2 EPs in, so it's like, I've given a lot of my brain away. So I've eaten a lot of my brains up with all the riffs that I've written, and like, I am proud though that like most of our bigger hits are usually, I think Die Without Hope's one of the ones that doesn't have me in it that much, but like Hell Chose Me is one of our bigger songs, and I wrote like the main hooky, like the parts that everybody knows for those songs, like those are my riffs, and then like Lie to My Face, the whole middle, like a big fat chunk of that song was just a bunch of riffs I had, and they all just kind of got put together. But I don't know, it's cool to know that like some of our bigger songs, people hear the shit that I wrote the most.
Hell yeah.
Which is weird because I'm you know, I'm not the singer, I'm not the shredder, like I'm not the guy who's always on the internet or anything, but people hear my riffs the most.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's all I really care about.
Well, hey, I mean, that must be a proud feeling for sure. I mean,
oh yeah, no, it's cool because I do spend time. Like, I don't just go, oh, that's a cool riff, blah, 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 there it is. Like, I spend time, like, I move notes. Like, I'll pull a riff completely apart, note for note, and find like I don't like this part of it. I'm gonna change that, or that's cool, but it could be cooler, or this part of these notes here can be way cooler, or whatever. And like, if it feels it's too easy to play or too hard, like, I don't know, it kind of has to fall in like, I don't know, it's kind of like when you have your eyes closed and you're trying to fit something small, like a square, into a small square spot, and you're like moving it around, you can kind of feel it's right there, and then it clicks into spot, and you're like, oh, there it is. That's kind of how I am with the riffs. It's like I'll just play, and then I'll keep playing and go, no, this note, no, and then at some point you're like, there it is, and then you can play through the riff, and you're like, I like every part of this, cool, and then you track it, and then you do the 2 guitars, and then you listen to it about 4,000 times, and then you delete it and write a different riff, and then you never hear that other riff again, and then you have a better riff later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So
some of the coolest stuff that I've thought I had has gone to the trash.
Gotcha.
Because sometimes you're like, this is a great idea, and you're like working on it, and you're like, I really only like about 1/18 of this, I'm throwing it all away. And then you just get rid of it and write something better.
Yeah.
But usually when you spend a lot of fucking time on a riff and then it sucks and you get rid of it, the one that comes next is better.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
Or just completely different, and then it's just as good but better because you get to save it and you don't hate it.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have a home studio setup? Like, do you record demos at home and everything?
Yeah, I have 2 Kempers. So I have one that's at Scott's for tour, and then I have one right here.
Hell yeah.
And then I have 2 on each side of this. I have 2 KRK Rocket 8s. They're the 8-inch speakers. I don't have a sub, but to get a sub, they're like, the KRK ones are like $400.
Yeah.
So and then, I got my guitars right here. I have a Focusrite 18i8 and a Cubase 11. I use the Elements, so it's like the $150 version. But yeah, I've written a lot of stuff here in this room for the last 2 albums.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, there's something.
And then...
Go ahead. No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just... yeah, and then... What else? Oh, that's it. Then I have my PC. But
Yeah, man. I mean, there's something special about being able to have the freedom of writing in your home studio, for sure. And I I've been kind of building mine up throughout the years and everything. And I'm curious, like, for you, because since do you have like is it a house or an apartment that you're set up at?
well, right now we're in like a townhome condo thing. So technically the wall behind you or the monitor is the wall that separates the kitchen of my neighbors and my bedroom.
Gotcha.
I don't really have a studio. It's just I stuffed my desk in my bedroom next to my bed. So I'm touching my bed right now where I sleep. And I hate this. This is not a studio setup.
It gets the job done.
If you yes. But there's a mindset and like, okay, so jamming in your bedroom versus like going to a studio. When you're at a studio, you feel like you can work. You feel like that make music energy, the vibe of making music and getting work done versus if you just got up out of bed and sat next to your bed.
Sure.
You don't feel like you're in a workspace. Like I'm just in my room, which, I mean, as a kid, that's great. But I'm at the point now, like this desk is like more than half of this wall. My room is so uncomfortably cramped. I don't like being in here. It's not comfortable and it's very warm because it's small. And I have the one vent is right there above my fingers. And my dad's old, so he's cold all the time. So I can't have the air down as much as I want. So it gets a little, it's just, I can't, I'm just in that headspace of I'm chilling in my room all the time. So like putting yourself into work mode is much harder here. As weird as it sounds, like you write music, when you're not in the right headspace to create music, like we're literally pulling art and sound and music and notes from nothing,
Right.
to make music. Being in a place that conduces that is much better than just sitting in your fucking bedroom. So it's really tough here. And I'm not in a soundproof spot. I can't really soundproof it because I have to live in here too. So I can't put blankets over the door. I can't do all this crazy shit I want to do like you would to a studio.
Right.
So my plan, because I got some inheritance, I was going to move and I was trying to buy a house, but my taxes were $13,000 from the last 2 years because we got backed up from COVID and less touring, and we didn't have so much money to pay the lawyers, so we had to kind of hold off. So we all ended up having to pay more. So I got a big inheritance, and that took more than half of it, like almost a third of it, 2/3 of it. So my whole plan to move and get a 3-bedroom, so my dad has a spot because my dad lives with me because he's got COPD and he's got myeloma, which is like a blood cancer. He's in remission, but it's destroyed his skeleton. So he's like can't really be on his own, and he's really far from family and all this. Trying to get him to go live near people who don't tour, so he has people around all the time, and so I can get a place just for me and like have my life. But that's not happening. So I have to try and find a 3-bedroom on less salary than I've had. So it is tough, and everything is so damn expensive right now. I mean, Arizona used to be the cheap place. $200,000, $250,000 can buy you a 3-bedroom house with a pool, and now $300,000 barely even gets you a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with no pool. Just like everything's gone fucking crazy. But I'm trying to get out so I can have a room that I can deck out and where you get up and you make your coffee and then you go into that room and that's workspace.
Right.
So. But it is cool to have a home studio.
Yeah.
So anytime I want to write or make any music or do anything, all I got to do is turn the computer on and sit down.
Totally.
And if I'm laying in bed and I have an idea, I can get up and do that. So yes, it is awesome. And I have a Kemper, so I can do anything I want. I can write anything I want. And it's great because I do like writing other stuff. I've written a couple like 80s synth pop style songs, but they're more cinematic. So they'd be really good in a movie or TV show.
Yeah.
So maybe I could find somebody to buy them, which I doubt it's going to happen.
Licensing.
They're not really that deep, but they do sound cool. I played it for a few people, and they really liked it. And then I wrote a stream, like a Twitch stream intro for somebody. So that was nice to be able to do that here. Made $400. That was cool. So I'm trying to get myself a little more dialed in with mixing and stuff. And then I'm going to like put it out there professionally that I'm trying to write Twitch stream intros for people.
Hell yeah.
And then, but I also want to like kind of work on other styles of music too. So it's not like people are just going to expect that I'm going to write something metal. Like if you want sort of an island reggae kind of jam, I can do that. If you want 80s synth pop, I can do that. If you want something a little more rock and roll, I can do that. And like, so I'm trying to like kind of build up what I can produce and what I can write and what create so that it's not just meathead riffs and shit. So I can have like, I don't know. Because I mean, as much as I would like it to be, I know Carnifex isn't going to be around forever. We're not Metallica. We don't make money like that. So there's no way, unless something wild happens and we become the biggest deathcore band in the world, I don't see us going on as long as Metallica. So I have to have other stuff. So while I have this time where I have to sit down and write, I might as well, work on learning other things too. So when the time comes, I can switch over to just making stuff, and then I have something to sell, and I have a good product, and I have something. Oh, and the other thing is I do have a couple rappers and some other people that want to work with me and produce music with me, and I can't have them come and sit in my bedroom in this condo. And we're not going to write in a living room where my dad's going to walk by a lot. So I need a space where I can build a studio and I can have a couch, which I have a couch, and I can have people come and chill, and we can have the space and be like, I can give it a fucking name, whatever, I can brand it, all this shit, and then actually get some work done and have people come over. And I want to track bands too. Like, obviously not drummers, because that's a whole nother world. You need to do a whole giant room and have mics and
send them to Jason for that.
That's a lot of work. And I'm not trying to be like a big time producer, but I want to make music with people. So if you take your drummer of your band somewhere and record that, come to me and we can do vocals, bass, guitar, whatever else you want, because you can do all that shit in a fucking bedroom.
Totally. Yeah, and
so that's where I'm headed. I'm trying to do that whole thing.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Which I don't want to be famous, but I know if I can just get some clients and have constant business, I can make enough money to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe that you could totally pull that off for sure, especially with your experience. It helps them. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like the whole reason why I bring up the whole home studio thing and everything is because I was just curious just how you go about maximizing like the space that you have. Because I mean, I've been in situations where my home studios have been just like nothing, right?
Yeah, a laptop and an interface.
Right. And fortunately, I'm in a spot where, like I said, I spent years building shit up, but like you can always make something out of nothing, man. A lot of it's here and a lot of it's here too. So I'm just like curious, like how do you maximize what you have? Like, how have you gone about it?
Well, I mean, this desk, I had to take this desk apart to fit it in here. So like I literally, because it's a normal flat desk, and then it has rack shelving in the front here. So I had to take that off to get the thing in here, and it has legs, and there's like a floor shelf. So I had to totally take this apart and get it in here. But yeah, no, it's great having this here, and like the Kemper is just on, and it's on the interface, and the cable's right here. So anytime I want to play guitar, I can turn around like, well, right there's my TV, so it's right behind me, and I can just turn around and then I can pick a guitar up, plug it in, click the little chicken head knob, and I'm playing guitar. So a lot of times I'll be watching a movie and I'll just start noodling around on a guitar, and then I've written a couple riffs doing that, which is fun.
Hell yeah.
Because you're like, Jun. Oh, wait, Jun. Oh, shit. And you turn around and turn the computer on, and you're like, hold on a minute. And you start doing the thing, and then you like, drums. And then next thing you know, you got a couple riffs, throw it in the Dropbox, and you're like, cool. And then you can be like, I've done work today.
Love it. Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. And you know what? In my opinion, I feel like Carnifex writes the best choruses in the genre. So how do you guys keep just cranking out like such catchy choruses? Like, what's the process for that? Like those hooks.
All right, this is the big fucking secret right here. Every band should listen to this, take my advice, and any assholes in your band keeping the riffs to themselves, get them the fuck out. Everybody works together. We all work together. So Neil writes his stuff, I write my stuff. We have a group Dropbox. Sean arranges stuff, so he has his riffs. I have mine, Neil has his, and we put everything together. Sean takes all of our riffs and all, like Neil writes his stuff, like he writes full songs and he calls them song beds. So they're meant to be heard and then torn apart, take the goods out and throw the bad away. Not necessarily bad, but the ones that click in the mind and the ones that don't click get left in the Dropbox. Anyways, put those together and then Sean throws his stuff in and arranges it. And then Scott listens to that and not Neil's riffs and my riffs and Sean's riffs. And Scott listens to the combination of them all as a song and then goes, what if we change that? I'd like to do a vocal thing here. I don't like that riff. This riff should be faster. This riff should do this. Sean takes it back. Anything he can't change on his own, he asks me or Neil to change. Hey, could you write this? We took this riff out. Scott wants to do a breakdown here. Let's do this here. And then more stuff in the Dropbox. Everybody works together. If you have people in your band that write music, write riffs, let them write riffs, put them in a Dropbox, share everything with everybody. Your riff might suck and no one might like it, but your other guitar player or your bass player or your drummer, whoever else writes, might hear that riff and come up with a better riff based on that riff. Or 2 notes in that riff gave your other guitar player an idea for half a fucking song. Everybody works together. I'm so sick of watching these fucking bands where this one dude writes everything and the other people in the band write and they don't get a say in anything. And that's fine because those people are usually really fucking good at what they do, but all their music sounds the same. Every song sounds the same. Like the reason, and then there's, and that's the bad thing in that is when somebody hears that band and goes, oh, it's this band because all the songs sound the same. That's bad. People hear us and they go, oh, that's Carnifex because we have our own sound and not every song sounds the same, but it's art. Like, you know what I mean? So when you hear a Carnifex song, if it piques your interest and you haven't heard us, you're not going to hear another song that really sounds like that one. I mean, granted, it's death metal. Every song fucking sounds the same. But if you know death metal and you know deathcore or whatever, if you hear Die Without Hope and then you go back and listen to Hell Chose Me, they're completely different songs. They don't sound anything alike, not at all. But they're the same band because we all wrote everything together. So that, that's how you get those little spices, those little flavors, those little differences. They're not from the one guy that writes everything because he had a one-off idea. They're from the other guy in the band that writes shit because he wrote something and then we added to it. And now you have 4 different styles in the same song because those riffs actually go together. So everybody work together. It's a band. It's not this dude and his buddies. If it is Dave Matthews Band, cool. Dave Matthews can fucking write everything. Good. If it's a band name and you got 5 dudes in it and 3 of them write, why is one dude putting all the music out? Like, let other people write in your band. If you create a band and give it a name, let the people you invite to play your music write with you. It's just going to make your shit better. And if your ego is so fucking big that you can't let anybody write with you, don't have a band. Record everything yourself, play a fucking backing track, and go out solo. Don't take a whole band.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or, if you're going to take a band out, pay them really well to keep their mouth shut and not have any fucking ideas. Like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like so many fucking people out there that play music have ideas and they don't put them out there, and they should. Everybody should be. Even if you think it sucks, somebody's going to hear it and they'll be like, hey, that kind of sucks, but we can make it better. Or people will hear it and go, what are you, crazy? That doesn't suck. This is awesome.
Totally.
Just everybody should write together,
Yeah, that's great advice. I appreciate you sharing that with me. So that's...
And now, I mean, to the caveat of that, there's like, Faceless is fine. Keep writing everything. I like the Faceless. Rivers of Nile, like, they've changed a lot and they have a lot of diversion in their music. And I know Brody writes almost all that stuff, so, but they're great. I mean, you can listen to Rivers of Nile and not every song sounds the same. They have a theme, they have a sound, but everybody has a sound or a theme. But old Rivers of Nile does not sound like new Rivers of Nile. They change it. He evolves, he grows, stuff like that. And then when you listen to like Rings of Saturn, it's the same music from the day one to the now. Like, it's just how many fucking notes and sweepy tappy things, and it sounds cool and it's awesome. But you put on any Rings of Saturn song now or old, it's basically the same kind of stuff, and it all sounds the same because it's one guy writing it, and he has his style and the box he writes in, and he's really good. But your band doesn't grow and change; it gets boring,
right.
So, especially the way, and if you keep doing that, and if you're gonna have member changes, that's so much more style and flair to bring your music. It's like, I mean, you listen, like if you took all the shit that Neil's written and then the stuff that I've written and what Sean's written, Neil's stuff is just out there. Like, you can hear the double driver in it. You can hear like the hard rockiness. You can hear some of like the country stuff because he liked country a lot. So there's like all these stuff kind of influencing his metal writing. But when you take these little pieces and put it in with the rest of our shit, it's right.
Hell yeah.
It's so crazy because I don't listen to any of his stuff and go, oh, that's so chunky and heavy, because he writes riffs, he writes melodies, he writes, a lot more intricate stuff because he knows way more guitar and music than any of us. And so, when I write, I just write riffs, like, oh, just heavy, yeah. And then, but he's got so much more knowledge, but it's elevated our music so much, I think. Like,
totally.
Necromantium in terms of style and like the solo styles and the riffing and like how the songs flow and what they sound like. To me, it's a totally different feeling than any of our stuff.
I agree. And that's actually a great segue too, because my next question was going to be, like, at least like from my outsider opinion, it really does feel like Jordan and Neil are very different guitar players. So how, right, and how was it like adapting to Neil's style when he first joined?
Oh, it was easy. Yeah, Jordan is definitely like the more like straight metal and metalcore dude. So if you notice, like Slow Death and Die Without Hope, like a lot of his solo parts, if he wrote the guitar stuff under it, it was just like, it was just wrung out chords, and that's what he learned to solo over. So that was how he basically put all the solos. So if you like listen, like Slow Death was really heavy on it, and a couple songs of Die Without Hope are really heavy on it. That all the solo parts are really just, except for like Dark Days and a couple of the songs, a lot of the solos are really just wrung out power chords, which is what metalcore bands and straight metal bands do a lot. Like, that's their solo time, and it's really easy to solo over that because it's not a lot of notes. It's one note, or it's one chord or one key. So, so when you hit that, it's this chord. That means this whole section of the neck is usable for the solo. And then something Neil told me that isn't a negative thing. It was just kind of how Jordan wrote his solos. Like, he wrote his solos in parts sometimes, and the parts wouldn't meld together in a way. It's kind of like this part and then that part. It's not like this part goes to that part. Like the Drown Me in Blood solo. Like, they don't, the parts of the solo don't like react and go into one another like that great. Like, they're fine together, but like how they don't like walk into each other. They're just kind of like different parts. And then if you listen to like Neil's solos are usually just kind of one whole part.
Gotcha.
Where he wrote the solo is just basically a solo riff, beginning to end. And then a couple of them kind of break off and do other stuff, but a lot of them have, I don't know, I would imagine it like Jordan's are more like playing hopscotch where you jump square to square, and Neil's are like you walk square to square.
Mm.
So you know, where the line isn't broken, so that, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to like put it how Neil put it to me and then break it down, but that's kind of how it, like, if the line was like this, and then Neil's is kind of like this.
Gotcha.
Where Jordan's are pieces. Well, neither of them are bad or good. I'm not being negative about it. It was just Jordan put his piece to piece, and then Neil like kind of and that's probably just the way they write. You know, like it could just be that Jordan does his stuff in pieces, and then to him, and then even listening to it, they go together fine. But then, you know, as someone that knows more, could analyze it a little differently. And he was like, sometimes they don't really make sense together. Like this sweep doesn't really make sense going out of this thing or whatever, but they work, so it's cool.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, throughout your time with Carnifex, you've had to welcome in a handful of different guitarists. And I guess what's been your process to get like properly acquainted with these guitar players like that you've had to work with throughout the years?
I don't know. I just treat everybody like they've always been there. I try not, you know, and I try not to like, oh, you get a period where you're the new guy and then I'm going to warm up to you. Like, I just talk to them like they've always been there. You know, and Neil was actually a little easier because he's been doing this just as long as we have. He's been on Jimmy Kimmel. He's been on Conan O'Brien. He's got Grammys. Like, he's worked with some of the, I mean, like, okay. What was, fuck, I forget the band name now. Anyway, the LA show, he's like, hey, you like this band? And I'm like, yeah, I fucking love that band. I've been listening to that band for like 15 years. That band's great. He's like, oh, their drummer was here. What? What? He's like, oh, yeah, he left, but I told him that you might be a fan, so he says, you know, he says, hey. I'm like, he says, hey? He just casually, what? I haven't been listening to this fucking band since I was a kid, and you just, you know, just hanging out with drummer. Like, one of his best friends is one of the dudes in 18 Vision.
Okay.
Like, what? He's had dinner with the drummer of Pink Floyd. Like, this, you know, he knows people. He went on tour with an American Idol winner. So, and he was the music producer for that tour. So or the music director. So he did the whole thing. So Neil's been around the block. He was a lot easier to welcome in. He's already toured. He knows how, you know, everything sucks. Nothing's ever going to go your way. Just complain about it and let's have jokes and be cool. So, like, you know, he goes with the flow. He's a road dog. He gets it. I mean, it was super fucking easy. Like, he's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing. He didn't have to learn anything other than our songs, which he's fine learning our stuff other than the older stuff, which was recorded badly. So he's like, man, some of these old recordings, I can't fucking tell what the fuck you guys are playing. But that was just because we didn't know guitar tone. It was 10-0-10 back.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. Yeah. And
which I'm so glad I've evolved out of that.
Woo. Totally.
Like, instead of people not saying shit, people go, what'd you make for your tone? It sounds amazing.
Right.
Which, funny thing is that I spent all this time with the 5153 and doing power balls and like fucking with so much stuff in this Kemper. And then for Graveside Confessions, is that the name of it? Yeah. I made a new tone and I picked a 6505 plus basically, and then a Maxon 808, basically the green screamer it's called in the Kemper, and then a noise suppressor, and then on the back end a little tiny bit of EQ, which is literally the setup I ran when I first started playing live. And I've gotten the most compliments on my tone than I've ever gotten on any two tours back there. every day in Europe when we had guests that we knew that played guitar, yo, what's your tone? What'd you do for that? What'd you no, it's just that. And they're like, really? That's it? Like, yeah, dude. Like, use what you know and don't overcomplicate it.
Hell yeah.
People using like all these crazy things, like a little tiny bit of wah boost and a little tiny bit of. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop with the compressors. Stop with the fucking, just all this crazy shit. Just use a head that has been around for 30 years that is amazing. Dial it in right. Add a tube screamer if you use passive pickups. Throw a little voice suppressor on it, EQ if you need it, and just chill out. Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. And I've learned this, and I'm not saying this because of anything other than the fact that I've spent so much time chasing sick tone. When I've realized two things, that I'm just going to go back to what I know because I can make it sound the best. And then I forgot the other thing I was going to say. What was it? Oh, everybody's chasing the same tone.
Sure.
If you think about it. If you really think about it, everybody wants a nice, sharp, dry, crunchy tone with a little tiny bit of wetness on the back end, which is just that high end, so it's not so scratchy and screamy. But like, if you listen to anybody, like, man, that tone is so sick, they all sound the same because it's the same tone, because it's good tone. That's what we're all looking for. Everybody's trying to use every single instrument and arsenal weapon and fucking everything at their disposal to find the same exact tone, because we all want the same thing. We want something that's heavy, crunchy, and clear. And if you think about it, when you work out to it, like, it's going to be the same thing at the end of the day, because there's only one way it sounds good. You can't really, like, you can adjust a little bit, but if you go too far out on any one part, too much low end, it farts out. Too much high end, it's scratchy. Too much mid, it's got too much, strack and scratch to it. Like, there's a balance, and the balance, unfortunately, means we're all looking for the same tone. But it's good tone. That's what we're all looking for, is good tone. It's just, everyone's going to have a little differentiation, but if you look at the base of everybody's guitar tone, it has those three things. It's got the bump, the crunch, and the clarity. That's what everybody wants. So it's like, I don't know, everybody should just fucking relax on all the gear and all the processing and all this bullshit. Just pick a good head, a tube screamer, and a noise suppressor and go.
Hell yeah. That's funny. I've never heard it broken down like that, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like, we've done 3 albums with Jason Zukoff, and we break out all these heads and everything, and then if you break it down at the end of the day, we have pretty similar tone every time. And then I always look at the head, and the dials are always at 12 o'clock or just a little bit up and down from there, and it's like, it's always the same settings. It's like, so fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing shit anymore. I know what I can make sound good, and I got it. And that's all I need.
Beautiful.
Plus, I'm 40 years old. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need to chase shit anymore, dude. I've learned so much, and I know what the fuck sounds good. And based on the last 2 tours, I think I have a pretty good goddamn tone. So I'm done fucking with it. I've found it. I've done the thing that every guitar player says they'll never do. I found my tone, and I'm not changing it anymore. This is it.
There you go.
I mean, on the album, it'll be whatever the album ends up being, because nobody's just going to let me go in there and do what I want. But live, every time I play guitar, when I track shit, other than, if I'm doing a death metal thing, I'm probably just going to use what I know sounds good. If I'm doing rock stuff, 311 shit, reggae stuff, obviously that's going to be different. But from now on, dude, with the death metal, deathcore, slam stuff, anything I write like that, I have the tone. I'm not fucking with it anymore. I'm too tired. I'm too old, and I got way too much other shit to do to be chasing tone anymore. And I don't have money for pedals. I don't have money for heads, and I have a Kemper. It does what I want. It has what I need. I'm done. That's it. I got the golden goose egg right here. It's chilling. So we're good.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah, and You mentioned Jason Sukoff. I think that's a great segue here. So how was it like going back to Audio Hammer to record Necromantium following a home recorded record?
One thing would have made it all a million times better would have been to bring my own guitars. I love Jason, but it's always, hey, we got the guitar, don't worry about it. And then I go there and we don't have it. So like he had this Kiesel, which is cool. It sounded fine, but it just didn't sound that good as I think he wanted it to sound. And then we ended up using the RGD that you were holding with stock pickups. So the tone's okay, but it wasn't really where I wanted it because those pickups, they're low output, which is fine, but they don't have the right shape to them. I like the Marzios better. I've been using the Marzio PAFs for years now, and this like the lowest output passive pickup you can buy. So my tone, I think that's the other secret to my amazing tone, is that my guitar is putting out no gain. So on the Tube Screamer, I have the high end and the level crank, and then on the actual profile, I have the gain just absolutely cranked. And I can do that because the guitar is not adding anything to it. So everything's all head. So I have all the beef and crunch I need, and the guitar is not fucking it up. So I'm not trying to have to find a balance. The guitar is giving me a flat, clean signal. So my tone literally just comes from the Kemper. And I think that's my bigger key now, is that most people with the sicker tone these days, they're letting the amps do the work, not the guitar. And when you get EMGs are cool. If you like them, they're fine. If people like them, it's totally cool. I'm not bagging on them or anything, but active pickups have an active EQ. So they're already tuned out with a certain tone in mind. And if you can't figure out how to work with that, your tone's going to be garbage. It just is, because the pickups are going to put out what they put out. And if you try to set your shit up the way you like it set up, not adjusting for whatever EQ there is in the pickups you bought, it's going to be a clash. And you're going to be too much gain, too much wetness, not enough high end, too much high end, not enough mid, whatever. And you're going to be battling that the whole time until you find it. Once you find it, you're fine. Right. But if you don't really know what the voicing and style is and all that, it's a pain in the ass. I mean, I used to work with that stuff so much, and I was never happy. And now I have the lowest fucking flat EQ output I can find on my guitars, and I've never been happier. Working on tone is so much easier now, because it's all how I want it and what the amp can do, and the guitar is just the guitar. So I think that's the way to go, personally.
Yeah, and
that's just me.
No, I mean, there's a good point to that, because that the RG that I had, the yellow one, that does have the DeMarzio PAFs, and that's the only guitar I have those pickups in. And there, to your point, there's something about the amp shines through the most on that guitar, and it's pretty much for that reason that you were just talking about. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have like the pickups trying to make its own voice and make it work with the amp. You know what I mean? Like, it just all flows together well, you know? So
yeah, you don't have to turn the gain down on the head. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's all whatever you can make the amp do, that's what they're designed for. It's what they do. That's why we have an overdrive. Like, that's why we put those tubes to the fucking wall.
For sure, man. Yeah, so you touched on this a little bit at the beginning of this episode here. So I know Carnifex has came out with many records at this point. Y'all have earned your respect in the industry. In your mind, what is Carnifex's next big step, and how do you get there?
I don't know how we get there, but that would be like touring with Slipknot or something, because that's why we headline all the time, is that nobody at our level take us out. Like, Dahlia takes us out every now and then, but obviously we can't tour with them every year all the time. You know, but like, I mean, you look at all the other bands that are supporting and headlining over each other and doing all, like, nobody calls us. Nobody fucking asks us to do direct for shit. Nobody asks us to be on their tour unless it's a festival. That's why we do Chaos and Carnage, because we get offered the headline slot. Like, but the phone ain't ringing, so we just take out other bands. That's why like the October run is Cryptopsy and Mental Cruelty and Organectomy and Face Yourself, because a lot of people that might not have heard those opening bands, but nobody's calling us to go out, so we got to take people out.
Gotcha.
And it kind of sucks. We've done a lot of favors for people, and we've taken out a lot of bands, and then, when they blow up and surpass us, the phone doesn't ring. They don't call us to, hey, you want to do direct on this gigantic tour we're doing because you helped us out, took us out for our first tour. No. But the next step, it's like Slipknot and all that shit, because we're, I think that's the other reason that we don't get called, is because we're at the same level as like Suicide and ASP, and nobody's really like, we're not bigger than anybody, and nobody's bigger than us. Like, I hate saying that shit, like, because nobody's really bigger than anyone else.
Sure.
It's whoever gets the call. That's all it is. It's not because this or that. It's this number, that number, and this person called that person, and that's what happened. No, we were almost there right before COVID. We were supposed to go out with 3 Teeth, and that was going to be like a whole goth metal audience that we're probably not reaching. We were going to reach, and then that fell apart, and that tour is never going to happen now. So I don't know. I feel like touring's changed since COVID, so we can't really tour as much as we were touring. We get paid more, but we tour less, so we're kind of making the same amount of money, so it sucks. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know of any other step other than going from where we are to the Slipknot tours and Gojira and like the Lamb of God stuff, like doing bigger stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see next year. I know Mayhem's coming back as a real tour, and Summer Slaughter's back as a real tour. So maybe we'll start doing those. I mean, I'm fine doing those because I know ain't nobody gonna fucking call us. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody in the actual business side of things actually wants to call us and do a tour with us, because that's pretty obvious. So I'm fine doing co-headliners and headlining Summer Slaughters and shit for, whatever, because, we get paid a certain amount and not anything under it now. And that's not even like just a demand. It's just, we're actually worth that, which is nice. So it's not, no one's trying to lowball us because they can, because they're not, there's no point, because we actually make money. So we actually get paid for our tours. We get paid well enough.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah. But I don't really know, like, yeah, we're kind of like at the top of the game here. We need to reach for, like, so I look at shit like we've been climbing the indie ladder, and we're like at the top of that ladder along with a lot of other people. So we're all reaching for that next ladder, which is Slipknot, and then you go up to like, Metallica size shows and shit like that. So I don't know if we'll ever reach that next ladder, but we're at the top of the one we started on. So
yeah,
I don't know where to go.
I'll say this: I have, just from a fan perspective entirely, but like, I believe you guys will, because you guys are worthy. You guys are more than worthy to be on those tours.
I think
and that's not even,
not try to brag or nothing, but I agree with you. I think so. I think we focus well on our live show, and we put the same everything into everyone. Every time we write an album, it's not one album has been treated like it's more special than any other album. Every album this is a big album. This one matters. Every album matters. We look at everything the same way. We're obviously older, so our stage antics and movement is a little less these days, because we are older and we're more tired now, and we actually have to do more work. I mean, when you're supporting shit, you bring a 16th of the back line, you bring no production, you don't have to be there early. Like, supporting's easy, way easy. Other than like the on stage can be difficult because it gets crowded, and some days you don't have room for you in a guitar cab. But supporting is easy. You don't have to be there at 10 a.m. You don't have to do this whole sound check and do stuff in the venue all day long. Like you set up, you chill, you play soon after, then you load out, and then you chill. Like you have a lot more open time and a lot more energy, and you get to play earlier, so you haven't been sitting around all day. You haven't been up since 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, you're not going on stage after a nap because you didn't get any sleep the night before because the roads suck. You know, all these other things. So yeah, like we do a little less personally, but we bring production. We bring lights. We bring good sound. We still have a show. We have a way we do things where I feel like personally as people, we're doing a little less. Like if you look at stuff from 2008, we're up there going fucking nuts. But we have no lights. We have no anything. We do have a sound person, but it's like that was back when the show relied on us to do something, and you have to do something the whole time. Plus, we were in our early 20s, and we had a ton of energy, and we were super excited, and we didn't have to load in at 8 a.m. So we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars for crew. Like we're loading all our own shit. We get up at 8 in the morning. We get up at 10 a.m., whatever the fucking load time is, and we go open the trailer. We load the shit in. We set our shit up. Like we're doing stuff all day long from 10 a.m. until we play at 10 p.m. So I think people have, accepted or not expected us to do the same thing as we used to, but we've pulled back in the live show. Plus, I think doing a hair whip every time there's a fucking blast beat. Like, how many times is this fucking dude going to do hair whip tonight? Like, this is the only fucking movie he has? Oh, he's headbanging again. I think if I take those moments, and we all take these moments to interact with the crowd, let the lights do some work, and then when you have a part that's obviously big and we're building up, then you put the show on, then you have the lights going and the hair whip, and then it's a moment. Now you have a moment. It's not that whole show he was hair whip. That's crazy. Now you have this moment where you're like, oh, he's going off, and he's going off. The lights are going off. This is heavy. It all built up. Now, because I haven't been doing this crazy shit the whole time, now this whole thing, it's a theatrical moment. Now you're like, oh, and it makes the music heavier. Plus, I do have a lot of vocals these days, so I honestly can't be like hair whipping and headbanging and then going up to the microphone out of breath. Like I need my breath. I need to be able to breathe. I need to be able to take breath and not be out of breath. So I've adjusted my show so that I can get the vocals out the way I need to, because I have to hold some out too. So sometimes I have really long holds with Scott, because I know he's going to hold it longer than he did on the album. And I know, and that's the other thing too, is that we've done this enough that I know, like Die Without Hope, he does the choruses different than he does on the album. I know certain parts when we open a song together or something, I know he's going to hold this certain scream out longer than he did on the record, and I know how far he's going to do it. And certain parts, because I'm playing guitar, like I have to manage what my brain's focusing on so I don't mess up the riff, but also I need to remember when to take a breath at the right point, because if you're holding your breath, you lose your oxygen, and you have to let it out. So I have to be able to tell myself to keep playing the riff. Okay, take the breath. And now we have to do the thing, and then to switch the riff. There's a lot going on in my head, and I'm trying to keep it all together. So it's like, I think I've cut the live show back a little bit to make sure that I'm still playing good and that I have good vocals, and I have to have them. And I'm not a vocalist, and I don't get to cook the mic, and I don't get to do all the cool things. Like I have to corpse grinder it up there. The mic's just here, and I just have to. So I don't get to have that big bassy beef like Scott has, because I don't get to cut the mic in the way, because this adds a lot of low end, and it, reverberates your voice a lot more than that's just open.
Right.
So, I'm trying to match Scott and sound like him, and he's up there fucking got the chest out. He's doing the thing, but I'm trying to straight lace it. Like it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's tough. So yeah. I forgot your question.
Oh, dude, you answered it beautifully. And just to wrap up that question that I asked, not only do I feel like y'all are worthy from musicianship standpoint, I also feel like y'all are very much worthy from a business standpoint. From all the time that I observed you guys, from me watching you guys for years and the insider info that I do know about you guys, professionalism has
Well, I want to hear some of that.
Maybe off stream. But the thing is like the professionalism has always been at the top. That is something that I feel like I keep hearing about you guys. The professionalism throughout tour, everything, and that's awesome to hear. I respect the hell out of it, and I hope a lot of these bigger bands realize that, because you guys deserve it. You guys 100% deserve it.
I hope everybody realizes, like, I think that's one thing that's kept us grounded and kept us real and good, is that nobody in this band is out there to party and meet chicks and meet people. And like I said earlier, all the stuff, like everything I said about Neil and stuff he's done, that's a fraction. I could go on for probably about an hour of everything I know that he's done, and there's probably still more. That dude, if he wanted to, he could be on guitar magazines. He could be doing show things at NAMM like Dimebag did, like Jason Richardson did. Like, he's got the skill and the know-how and the connections to do all that, and he doesn't want any of that shit. And that's what I like, because I don't want any of that shit either. I mean, I do want that shit, but I don't want it. I don't want it because I went out there to try to do it. I want it because, well, I only want it because someone to notice what I bring to the table, which isn't a lot. But,
give yourself credit.
I mean, maybe I could piss some people off with this, but I like to call myself the James Hetfield of deathcore. Like, everybody always talks about my right hand and how clean it is, and like how well I play live, and how like even Neil, like, you take everything Neil knows about music and everything I know about music, you're gonna need an ocean for Neil, and I can give you a cymbal for me. So, and he tells me when he joined the band, he was like, dude, when I joined the band, he was like, I know all the stuff I know, but now I got to keep up with that right hand. And like, I have someone like Neil telling me that, you know, like, that doesn't deserve magazines or anything, but I'm saying if I got magazine stuff like that, I would accept it, because that's fine. But I'm not out here like, I'm going to be this dude on Guitar World magazine. Like, nobody in my band wants any of that shit. Nobody in my band is here because we want to party and meet chicks and do drugs and like, I'm in a band. Look how fucking cool I am. Like, I met Scott and Sean, and the three of us said, all we wanted to do is play music and get paid for it. That's it. We want to make albums. We want to make music. We want to see the world. And we want to fucking just jam and have a good time and get paid. We don't want regular jobs. That's it. That's all we want. We don't want the fame. We like, a byproduct of all this is some fame or whatever, because you have to be known to be successful. Nobody's going to give a shit about a band that nobody knows. Sure. So you kind of have to allow some of that in, which is not, we're also not here to like, we don't carry markers around to sign autographs. Like, we don't expect, you know what I mean? Like, we want the amount of fame we need to get to where we want to go and make the money we want to make and put our music in front of people we want to put it in front of. But we're not walking around with markers or, anybody that says, hey, you want a picture? Like, we if someone seems nervous, oh my God, I can't believe would you like a picture? But if somebody's like, hey, aren't you in blah, blah, blah? We don't go, yeah, man, you want a picture? Like, it's yeah, I'm in Carnifex. And if they ask, sure, I will give you a picture. But we're not, we're not those guys. We're not out there for the clout and all the bullshit. Like, we literally just want to play music and get paid. So if we have to be known for that to happen, then fine. Let's be known. Let's be famous. Let's be out there, do the Instagram thing, whatever. I fucking hate social media. If I didn't have this band and I didn't have to use something like that to get my work out there, I would not have it. I can't fucking stand it. I fucking hate it. I hate that nobody uses it for what it's fucking for. Everybody's just trying to sell shit, whether it's their body or some bullshit garbage they make. It's annoying. It's tiring. And nobody on this shit is real. And the real people fall behind. The real true artists, the people with real talent and real soul and heart, nobody gives a fuck about those people. Everybody just wants chicks with big tits and big asses and people who throw fake money at other people. I mean, all those people that follow, hey, do you follow me? Here's 10 grand. It's all fucking movie money, dude. If you pause those bills, or like some of those where the thing's off to the side. If you pause the video and can actually read it, it says fucking Hollywood movie money. They print the shit. It's not real. None of these fucking people are real. I can't stand this shit. And then, we're all trying to like further our businesses, or people with genuine shit. You post and nobody sees it because you're not famous enough. Or you said the F word. Now we're not showing your stuff to people. It's just like, what the fuck ever, dude. I'll keep posting. I'll do whatever. But if it comes to a point where I can get my shit out there and I don't need that, I'm gone. I'm getting rid of it. I can't fuck.
I agree with a lot of what you just said there, for sure. Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Well,
And I used to love it. Like, we wouldn't be here without MySpace. I fucking loved MySpace. I'll give all the credit in the world to social media and stuff for that. And, when it was new and people used it like for what it was for, meeting people, talking, sharing, having a good time, a laugh, that was great. And now it's just become, it's horrible. It's just horrible.
Right.
It's just horrible. But I will secede. I give all credit to MySpace. Thank you, Tom. Fucking thank you, Tom. Tom allowed me to meet Scott and Sean and get in his band. Tom allowed us to advertise our shows for free. Fucking Tom hooked it up, dude. He was always in my top 8. Not because he had to be and he forced himself there, but I wanted him there.
Shout out Tom for Carnifex, baby.
Tommy the man, bro.
That's awesome, man. That's so awesome.
Bring back
for sure. I have a few more questions for you, then we can wrap that up if that's okay with you.
Whatever, yeah. Bring them on. All the questions you want.
Appreciate
I got nothing to do.
So, when you were a teenager, what did success look like in your head, and how has that changed now that you're 40, right?
It hasn't changed at all.
Hell yeah.
It means playing with the bands that I thought were the biggest bands in the world, playing in front of a lot of people and seeing the world and getting paid for it. That's what I thought success was. So high school me would tell me now that I made it. You did it. You did exactly what we wanted. I've seen the world and I'm getting paid to play guitar. We did it. The dream is achieved. Now, how long can I keep the dream going? That's what I need to keep. That's what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
That's the next step. I made the dream happen. Now I got to keep it going. I got to keep Scott from quitting. I got to keep Sean from quitting. No, but I mean, Scott's happily married. He's got his kid. He's a real estate agent now. Like, he's got good things going on at home. I wouldn't blame him if he didn't want to do this anymore, because it is tiring and he does a lot. He has a lot more on his shoulders for it, but this is all I ever wanted to do. I mean, I didn't know it until I knew it. So before this, it was a lot of other things, but there was that moment when I, was like, yeah, that's what I want to fucking do. And then, here I am. So I'm doing it. I'm barely doing it, but I'm doing it.
And you're fucking killing it, man. Like, honestly, you're fucking killing it. And that's awesome. That dream stayed consistent. You achieved it. Now sustainability.
I mean, we had played with Slipknot. And in 1999, when I was listening to that self-titled album, I was, dude, I would love to meet one of these guys and play a show with these dudes. So sick. And now I've played a couple shows with them. It's cool.
So, I guess now, what scares you?
The band ending.
Fair.
It's terrifying, because I don't want that to happen. This is clearly what I was meant to do. I mean, I'm only happy on tour. I love tour. I like being exhausted. I like sleeping in the wagon bunks. I like touring. I like being on the road. I like going to a different city every day. I like flying J's. I like fucking Sheets and Wawa and Fuckies. And I like fucking, like, the cool thing too is, like, when you're in, like, a new town, sometimes you're in sort of like a nice little downtown place and you can find a cool, like, local sandwich shop or some barbecue in the South. Like, every day is a fucking adventure. And then every night to sleep over with your buddies.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not want to fucking do that every day? Like, how is that not awesome? And I get paid for that? Yeah. Let's do that till I fucking die. So, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, is the band ending and me having to figure something else out, get a regular job again while I build up being a producer or learn more about making music at home and all this. Like anything I need to learn that I haven't learned with this time with the band, I have to get a job and then learn more of it so I can fucking, So, that's what I'm afraid of, is not being able to professionally do music anymore. Because I could probably find another band, but I don't believe, even with all the friends I have out there and everything, I don't believe that I can find what I have with Carnifex. I never wanted to do this with people I didn't know. I always wanted to do this with my friends, people I did know, but I could never make friends in high school, like a real, like, people now, like in their adult, they have over 5-6 dudes that they've known since high school. I talked to 2 people I know from high school, like men and women, 2 fucking people. And like, I have no friends from high school. I have no adult friends other than my band. Like, so the whole making a band with my buddies at a high school thing never happened. And I met Carnifex by chance. Like, everything was just by chance. Like, it's just, oh, whoop, that happened. Oh, cool, that happened. Oh, whoop, now I'm in a band. But it just so happened that I'm so comfortable with them right off the bat. It was like, there was obviously a small period of navigating new friendships. Plus, I'm a stoner in a band with 3 dudes who were fucking straight edge, and one of them's Mormon. Like, how do I fucking work with that? Like, what the fuck? Like, how does this happen? But it worked out. It's fine. And then the bass player that we had when I joined, he left, and we got Fred, and then Ryan and Jordan, and now Neil. So, I mean, it takes time, but I think provided Neil doesn't go anywhere, I think we found, like, this is going to be Carnifex for a long time.
Fuck yeah. So,
because Neil's been in the band, he's been touring with us since 2020 now. So, right? 2019. Because he did, or was it? It was 19 or 20, I can't remember. But he did Die Artist Murder with us in Europe. So, he's been with us for 4 years now, at least, band-wise. And Scott's known him longer because he's married to this chick that did our makeup for a few videos. So she would come because she knew Scott's wife, and then she would come, and then I guess she brought Neil once, and then they all went out and hung out, and then Neil was at Scott's wedding, and then Jordan was splitting, so we hit up Neil. We also hit up Miles, who's was it Einstein Kills now? Yeah. So we hit him up, and he filled in for a little bit, and then he was actually going to start the 3 Teeth tour, and then Neil was going to finish it, because Neil had Devil Driver stuff or something. I forget, a festival or some show. But obviously, that all fell apart, so he didn't do his festival, we didn't do the tour. But then when we started writing Graveside, we asked Neil, and Neil wrote Cursed. He helped us write Cursed. So the solo and a bunch of the riffs in that song are his, and then there's some other riffs on the album that are his, and then everything else is me and Sean. So the solo on Cursed is his, and then the rest of the solos on the album are me.
Fuck yeah, I didn't know that.
And then obviously I tracked them. Sean can play guitar, but not as good as me. Just like I can play drums, but not as good as Sean. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, he started helping us with that. So yeah, I think, and like, usually on tour and with nights with drinking or partying or whatever, you'll see who's going to clash in the band, because the booze and other things will bring stuff out. We've never had those moments,
dude,
since Neil joined. He doesn't get annoyed with anything we do. It's always just outside things. So, like, he loves when the day's on time, like the schedule that follows the day sheet, so he can get his naps in. He likes to nap during the day, and then he likes to stay up a little bit at night. So if that gets thrown off, he gets kind of pissy, but it's fine, because you only have so much time to sleep, and the best time to sleep, especially in a bandwagon, is when it's not fucking moving. So if you have naps planned during the day and those get fucked up, that's a pisser right there. That shit sucks. I don't like napping that much, but when I have one planned and I don't get to do it, man, that's a tough one, because you're just so tired on stage, and it makes you mad for 2 reasons. Because now you've been up all day and you're exhausted, And now the show's going to suffer. Either you're going to play bad or you're going to look bad. And nobody's going to notice. It's only going to sound or look bad to you. Like personally, like I'm having the bad, I'm going to think I did bad. Nobody else is going to think I did bad. But you know how much you fuck up. It doesn't matter what other people say. You know, I fucked up this half of this song. I fucked up these riffs. Like, you can point out every moment of the set. In a whole hour of playing music and standing around and doing stuff, you can point out every fucking moment you messed up, but nobody else can. So regardless of that, it still makes you feel bad because you're getting paid to do a job, and people paid hard money or good money to come see you, and the last thing you want to do is have people leave the show going, they didn't do that. I was very disappointed with this band. Because they spent money to see you, and you don't want people to be bummed out when they, especially if they like you. That shit gets heavy sometimes because, there are people out there that, and we've met them, that we're the band that kept them from unaliving themselves or help them through whatever. So if they come because that's their therapy and they're getting their therapy in a bigger way and they don't get it, that sucks.
Absolutely. So
we make every effort for it to not be us who fucks it up. So if the people don't get what they came for, hopefully it's not our fault.
Right. So on the flip side of that, what excites you right now?
Going to tour. I'm always excited for tour. Because, as much as it sucks, I'm really far away from San Diego right now. There's 2 different routes I could take. One of them is about an hour and a half shorter, but there's a lot less stuff. So if my car is a problem, I have a better chance of getting help going the longer route. And there's more gas stations, better gas stations. I know the route, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I know it. I can drive from here to Scott's house without Google Maps, and that's almost 700 miles. So I totally know the route. But it's exciting because I get to book a hotel. I get to go to California. I get to rehearse and hang out with my buddies. And then we get to get in a bus or a wagon or whatever and see America and play music, play the songs we've written and have a good time. And every tour is different bands, so I get to meet new bands. And right now, I'm fucking in love with Organectomy, so I cannot wait to see that band play every fucking night.
Hell yeah.
I'm so stoked. I never knew I liked playing so much.
Fuck yeah.
The vocals really aren't my thing. I like to be able to hear words, but I'm not, let's be honest, nobody listens to Slam for the vocals, dude. Everybody listens because of those fucking Slam riffs. I'm not bagging on the vocals. It's not a bad thing. I like the vocals. I prefer real, like, death metal vocals where you hear words and there's highs and lows and different, all this stuff. But everybody, you listen to Slam because that shit's heavy, and there's every riff is a fucking build up. So every riff's sick as fuck because it came from a big build up, and you just do you have that time to get the groove in, and then it's some fucking dumbass drum fill with a ding on the end of it, and then it's the heaviest shit you ever heard for fucking the next minute and a half.
That's dope.
Also writing. I get excited when we, not so much writing because this pressure to make music, and then there's a lot of going back and forth, and like, it's fun, but it's not fun. Like, I love writing. I'm not saying it's bad, but you have to come up with riffs, and sometimes you work on a riff really hard, or you're like having a moment where you're like, I'm having a hard time coming up, and then you squeeze one out like a big fucking turd, and not that the riff's a turd, it's just sometimes you have to force it out, and you force it out, but then it ends up being something you really like, and then you spend a whole day on it, and you make it cool, and then you put it in the Dropbox, and then it doesn't get used. It's like, fuck. So writing can be a headache sometimes, just because there's so many riffs, and I think I still have a lot of them, but there's so many riffs that I had to force out, and I tried, and I constructed, and I did all this work, and then they don't get used. And then the ones that get used are the ones that I made trying to write that bigger riff.
Yeah.
Like, while I'm like trying to write the riff, and I figure out you have another idea. Like, oh, hey, this is kind of, hold on, let's go off. I'll remember that. Let's open a new, and you write this other fucking riff, you're like, all right, I'll put that aside. Then you finish the big boy riff, and you're like all proud of it, and you put it in the box, and you go to the other one and you put some drums. You're like, that's a pretty cool riff. Throw that in the box. Then the one that came by accident gets used, and then the big one you spent 8 hours on, it's no love. And it's like, that shit can be heartbreaking sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because then you're like, what do I do with this now? But now I have riffs that didn't get used. I can use them to write stream intros for people and shit. So
Hell yeah.
if you're out there and you need a stream intro for your Twitch, hey, hit up people.
That's what's up, man. Very last question for you. So, throughout your entire career, what's the song you're most proud of?
I mean, it's tough though. It's because I haven't written any one. Oh, January Nights, I guess. Because there isn't any Carnifex song that I wrote alone. There isn't any Carnifex song that anyone wrote alone.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get excited for writing because, yeah. It's just, and once the album's done and you can listen to it, you're like, all right, cool. Like, it's, the exciting part is when you're getting tired of, like, putting stuff together, but then you start seeing, all right, song 1, we're calling that done. All right, sick. Obviously, we're just calling it done. So if anybody's listening, you have an idea, like, hey, this will be cooler. I want to add this here. Totally fine. Let's do that. We're going to try that. But when you start getting it to where, like, oh, we got 4 songs done. We got 5 songs done. We got 6 songs done. We got this done. We got all that. So that's sick. You know, that's the fun part.
Hell yeah, man.
But yeah, I guess I would be most proud about January Night because I did write that myself. So drums, bass. Well, I didn't really do bass because I didn't want the bass to be crazy. So I really just kind of told Fred, just try to find the low root note and stick with that because we're not trying to blow everything out here. This isn't a crazy song. Obviously, you've heard it. It's supposed to be what it is, quiet, somber. It has a feeling to it. It has a drive to it. And if you look at it, it's like it starts single notes, chords played, whatever, and then they become strums, so it builds. So I kind of had it. I wrote it when I was dealing with divorce and COVID and everything, so I let a lot of the unhappiness into that.
Yeah.
And it also built up to where, I don't know, I kind of wrote it as how the marriage was ending, is that it started was a little bit, and then it kind of grew, and then we got married, and like the whole end and everything exploded and fell apart, and that's kind of how the song feels, is that, you know, it was nice, and then it kind of got really great, and then everything got tense and fell apart, and so I used that, but I did put the whole thing together. I got the little keyboard right here that I wrote all the cello shit on, and all the everything else, so and I put that thing together for like 3 months. I worked on that song. So I guess that'd be my proudest because it is my favorite that I've written of the clean things. Like all those little clean things on like Hell Chose Me and whatever other fucking album I had one on, and January Nights. Oh, it was Die Without Hope. Was it Countess of the Crescent Moon or no?
That was why is that Drown Me? Oh, no, damn it! Why is that? It's the same album that Drown Me in Blood was.
Yeah.
Slow Death. Yeah.
It's on Slow Death, but I have to know the name of the song. It's gonna bug me. Life Phase to Funeral. That's it. That was the one. That one I wanted a solo on it, and I didn't have one, so Jason wrote the solo on that one. But yeah, like those songs, I've always I'm a big Poison the Well fan, and they were always really good at that, at like having the big abrasive, heavy music, and then this like really sad, clean guitar thing with the single note stuff. I was like, oh, I love that shit.
Hell yeah.
Fun fact. Sorry, I keep going off, but fun fact, the one I did at the end of Hell Chose Me that fades in, those are the chords to play Drive from Incubus.
Oh, really? Hell yeah.
So I know how to play that song, and I know those chords. They're not right, but they work because they have some of the same notes, so they sound the same. Mm-hmm. But I used the same chords to play Drive with an extra one that fits, that isn't a part of the song. But I thought I always was kind of about it. Like, I don't like to toot my horn a lot, but I was like, that's kind of cool.
For sure.
Like, I learned how to play Drive, and then I wrote a sad song that is now out in the world using those same chords. That's pretty cool.
Fuck yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you being on here and speaking with me. Is there anything that you would like to plug before we wrap this up?
Well, we have the Cryptopsy tour in October, so get your fucking tickets, carnifexmetal.com. I have a Twitch channel. It's just twitch.tv/booteffects, same as my IG. I write music, so if you want a Twitch intro, I got that for you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Cory Arford, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button to stay on top of new episodes of Inside the Wounds.